There we go. All right, so on this week's edition of our Training Tuesday, we will be discussing, we were able to switch around the Training Tuesdays page and reorganize that just to make the most recent Tuesdays pop up at the very top, so you don't have to go digging. So now that we have done our Training Tuesdays for a little bit over a year now, that page has grown. And so if you are new to Training Tuesdays, we will show you where that's at. Also, we're going to extend our discussion regarding the bid tab visibility and when the bid tab is available to the public, and also why there are certain bid tabs that are not available. So that was kind of been a tricky question that we've been investigating over the last week, and we figured it out. Our next bid buy training will be January 13th. Thank you very much for those of you that joined us last week on our bid buy training. That seems to be working well. While admittedly it's not as it's not as great as I would like to have it if we were all in the same room together and we could be working through issues and that sort of thing. But I feel like that that monthly bid buy training is going fairly well. Then we'll hit our recently asked questions from this past week and fun fact of the day. And I also have a bonus fun fact of the day today. Okay, so first off, our Training Tuesdays page. So if you're new to Training Tuesdays, this every week, 9 a.m. A lot of you are here each week, and we always appreciate you being here. We reorganized it slightly, and here's the link to it. And if you are not, without using the link, let me do that. The link takes you right here, right? As you can see, the most recent version is at the top of the page now. So before you would have to scroll down to the bottom. And also now that we've been doing this over a year, there's actually 2 pages. And so you would have had to scroll down to the bottom, then click the next arrow to get to the most recent one. So we just kind of flipped it to make that a little bit easier. If you are brand new to the Training Tuesdays call, just know that certainly we want you here every week. This is available to everybody. This is normally a very short call, 15 to 20 minutes tops. Every once in a while, we'll dip into a topic that will be a little bit more extensive, and we may go 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But most of the time, this is about a 15, 20-minute call. You can also go back and take a look at anything that we've looked at over the last year and a couple months. They have the title here. There is the slides that were used that day, as well as a link to YouTube. It's just a YouTube link to that video. Now, if you don't use that link, it is very easy. It's on our CPOGS website under where the training center is here. So you click on that link, and then you can see the Training Tuesdays, as well as a couple bid buy version 15 training videos. I'll also be adding the link to the, let's go back to our slides here. I'll also be adding the link to our next bid buy training, which will be January 13th. We do the second Wednesday of each month, and that is an all-day training for those that are new to bid buy or anybody that wants to just have a quick refresher of the system. Okay, so our next topic is the bid tab statuses. So this is kind of an extension of what we talked about last week, and so I wanted to dive into this a little bit more. Last week we talked about, when is it available? Can a vendor see a bid tab? We talked about those if it's restricted. So if it's a small business set aside, it's not going to be visible to the public. However, you are available to provide that information to the vendor without them doing a FOIA. And if you can go back and take a look at last week's training to unpack that a little bit more. But this is a good indication or a quick little spreadsheet. And I'm going to attach the actual spreadsheet to the email that I'll send out today, as well as I'll attach it to our training in the Training Tuesdays. But I just copy and pasted here. And so this gives a good overall view of the statuses in bid buy, and then when is the bid visible, are the bid attachments visible, and when is the bid tab and bid tab attachments visible. So as you can see here, of course, it's when it's sent, you can see that all the documents are visible, the bid is visible. Prior to that, you wouldn't see that it's visible to the public, right? That just makes sense. Once it moves to open status, it's still visible, as well as the attachments. Even in the evaluated status, the bid documents are still visible. However, you're not going to see the bid tab is not visible until it moves to this approved status or bid to PO. So the difference is the approved status is in that middle kind of time when it's been fully approved by the SPO at the very end of the approval path, but it has not been converted to PO yet. So that's when it'll live in that approved status. So once it's converted to purchase order, that bid is now moved to bid to PO status, and the bid tab is available and the bid tab attachments is visible. So the question that we had to do a little investigative work and digging is, why are some of these bid tabs not visible to the public? A couple of these bids, they've been awarded, they've moved through, they've gone to PO. There are a handful of these type of procurements, okay? And what we found is, according to this, if you would go and look at that bid has line items that are not all of the line items were awarded, and so that is still living in a opened status. So there's a couple of those bids. If you go out and see, why can't I see the bid tab? Chances are it's in this opened status, and all that means is it hasn't been, not all the line items have been awarded. So that bid tab is not going to be visible to the public, and so that's it's a bid tab, or it's a bid by system. That's the way it works through, because if some items could be awarded later, and so I guess the question is then, okay, what if a vendor wants to see that bid tab information on those particular type of procurements? Now, I will say there's not a lot of them, but if you do have line items that are not awarded, it's not going to move to that approved status. It will be living in that opened status. So in that case, you can provide the bid tab information. You can always direct a vendor. You can always show them how, and we talked about that last week, how to get to the bid tab. You can go back and take a look at that as well. It's pretty easy. But just know that you can always direct a vendor how to find the bid tab, because a lot of these vendors, they're either new to the system, or maybe they've never actually bid, or they're not aware how to find that bid tab. You can always direct them. That's a process issue. That's absolutely okay, because we want our vendors to know the system. However, if that bid tab is not available because it's one of these bids where not all the line items have been awarded, you can simply provide that information. So I mean, it could be as easy as a copy and a paste from that bid tab, and you could provide that information. Now, of course, the vendor also can FOIA, right? That's still that's their choice. But just know, many times the vendor is just looking to see the pricing. They're not necessarily looking to FOIA all the documents. So if that's the case, you can provide that information for the vendors. Let me pull up my chat real quick, make sure I'm not missing any questions. Okay, is that clear? Do we have any questions regarding that? I'm glad we finally got to the bottom of that one, because that one was interesting. That was something I learned new about the system as well. And if you do have any questions, you can always reach out to your SPO. You can reach out to me as well, and we can do some investigative work and figure out what's going on if you can't find a bid tab. Okay, next up. So regarding our monthly bid buy trainings, they will be offered the second Wednesday of each month. So our next training is Wednesday, January 13th. None of this has really been changed. I just know we have a lot of different people on this call each time. So I apologize if you hear me talk about this all the time. So we do have 4 different sessions on our monthly bid buy trainings. You feel free to attend 1, 2, 3, or all 4. If you are new to bid buy and you do not have access yet, you will need to attend this training. And we're also providing certificates now. So if you would like a certificate, one of my projects is to go back through and contact everybody who's attended our monthly trainings. In the meantime, if you would like a specific certificate, just email me and we'll make sure we get that for you. Now, that doesn't affect your access to the system or anything like that. You still will fill out the registration form like you did. It's signed by the agency, and then you get your access. It's just some folks want to be able to have that certificate, and we can provide that for you. Okay, let's see. Okay, so recent questions and our FAQ. A question we received this week. It is a repeat from a previous training, but you know what? That's what FAQs are, and recent questions are going to come up. So let's go ahead and touch base on it. How do I know if a vendor is a small business or not? So this is pertaining to, most likely, I assumed this was coming from the, are you utilizing an active registered small business set-aside vendor, which is a required field at PO. And so I do have the steps here, and I'm going to jump out and show you how quickly it is to do that. So you're going to go to the vendor tab. You're going to select the vendor link under the vendor ID, select terms and categories, and then you're going to see if they're a small business or not. And this comes regarding the interface from the Illinois Procurement Gateway, which is where our small business set-aside program is housed, interfaces with BidBuy, and so a vendor obviously can't go in and say that they are a small business vendor if they are not. So let me go back out here real quick. BidBuy, let's see, I might need to go to a PO. Just going to go to a PO here. This one's in progress, but you'll be able to see it anyway. The vendor, so I go to vendor tab, click. I go to the vendor link, which is under the vendor ID there, which is our step 2. It's going to give me a pop-up. I can make that a little bigger if I want. And I want to go to the terms and categories. So 3 clicks, you can see exactly if your vendor is a small business vendor or not. So I click on terms and categories. I can scroll all the way down the bottom. I don't need to see anything else. And then the very last question will say, if they are registered as small business, that will be right here. In this case, they're not. So that answer would be no. But so this is what it would look like if your vendor is not small business. If it is small business, it will say that they're registered. Okay, very easy. And that way, just as a reminder for that required PO field, the that field is there so that our small business reporting is accurate. So your agency will get the proper credit for contracting with that small business. Okay, any questions regarding that? Will these similar steps identify a BP vendor? Yes, absolutely. They will. Now, the difference with a BEP, so yes, it will be in that terms and categories, but you would have to do a little bit more digging because it doesn't identify the specific NIGP codes that a BEP vendor is registered for. Okay, so it will identify if they are registered as a BEP vendor, but you'd have to look into, are they registered with that specific NIGP code? Great question. I should have added that, and I'll add that to the training anytime I talk about that small business vendor category. Okay, so our fun fact, we have 2 today. So our first one is, today is Bill of Rights Day. 1791, the United States Bill of Rights is ratified when Virginia gives its approval. Becomes, of course, the amendments 1 through 10 to the Constitution. And then a couple quick facts about the Bill of Rights. So the bill was introduced by James Madison. Of course, he became the 4th president of the United States. This I did not know. This was interesting. The Bill of Rights initially had 12 proposed amendments. One concerned the number of constituents for each representative, and the other addressed compensation of a congressman. Neither was ratified, of course. And there were 14 copies of the Bill of Rights, 1 for each of the 13 states to sign, and 1 for the federal archives. Only 12 copies survive today. So I'm kind of curious as to who spilled coffee on their Bill of Rights and ruined it. Anyway, and we get a bonus. So shout out to our SPO, Jennifer Klein. I loved this Christmas fun fact / trivia. In the Christmas song, The 12 Days of Christmas, how many total gifts does her true love give her? The gifts are, right, of course, all the 12 drummers drumming all the way down to a partridge in a pear tree. So this is really interesting. The thing I did not know is, right, so you add them all up, you get 364, which is really interesting because that's every day for the rest of the year, not including Christmas Day. So I thought that was pretty cool. So thanks, Jennifer Klein, for that. That was really fun. Do we have any other questions? Go, Jennifer. All right. Thanks, everybody. We hope you have a great rest of your week. And as usual, the video and the slides will be posted to our Tuesday Training Center. And have a great rest of your week. Thank you.